It is one of a homeowner's absolute worst nightmares. That sound of rushing water where it shouldn't be. But what really happens after you find the main valve and shut it off? Well, it turns out saving a flooded home isn't just about mops and buckets. It's a complex, methodical science. So let's dive into what that really looks like.
Okay, picture this. It's 2 in the morning. You step out of bed and your foot splashes into an inch of freezing cold water. Your water heater has finally given out. Right now, in this moment, a clock has started ticking. You've got a very small window, maybe 24 to 48 hours, before a whole new microscopic invasion begins.
You know, to really understand a disaster, you first have to understand the risk. And a lot of the time, the danger isn't just some sudden random event. It's more like a constant pressure building up from the environment outside and from deep inside the walls of your own home.
To see how this works, let's zoom in on a specific place, Wekiva Springs, Florida. It's a beautiful area for sure, but its unique geography basically creates a perfect storm for water problems, making it a fantastic case study in these constant moisture challenges.
So you can see how all these different factors just start piling on top of each other. You've got the Wekiva River system and high water tables that are literally pushing moisture up from the ground. At the same time, you have over 50 inches of rain coming down from the sky every year, a lot of it in sudden flash floods. Then you layer a long hurricane season on top of that, and subtropical humidity that's almost always over 70%, and the entire environment is just completely saturated with water.
So the pressure is definitely on from the outside, but what about from the inside? Well, as it turns out, the very systems that are designed to make our lives comfortable, our plumbing, our appliances, are often the Trojan horses that let the flood right in. Let's take a closer look.
A lot of homes in places like this were built back in the 80s and 90s, and some of them have these old polybutylene pipes that are now getting super brittle and just waiting to crack. Your water heater, it basically has an expiration date of about 10 to 12 years before it becomes a ticking time bomb. And in a place like Florida, the AC is running constantly, creating gallons of condensation that can flood your whole attic if the drain line gets clogged. Every single one of these is a potential failure point that can strike with absolutely no warning.
And this brings us right back to that ticking clock. In a humid place, that water doesn't just sit there being wet. It's creating the absolute perfect breeding ground for mold. So you're not just fighting the water anymore, you're in a race to stop a secondary biohazard from taking over your home.
Okay, so the worst has happened. A pipe burst or a storm flooded the ground floor. The race is officially on. This is that moment where professionalism, speed, and real science have to come together to contain the damage.
Now, while the mold might take 24 hours to really get going, the professionals, they have a much shorter timeline in mind. The industry standard for an emergency response team is to be on site ready to go within just 60 minutes of your call. Why? Because every single minute that water sits there, it's soaking deeper and deeper into your home's structure.
And when the team arrives, it's not chaos. It is a very methodical, 3-phase process. First up is the emergency response, basically figuring out exactly what they're up against. Second is the real scientific core of the job, getting every last drop of moisture out. And finally, putting everything back together again.
Phase 1 is all about control and gathering data. First things first, stop the water, obviously. But right after that, crews break out tools like thermal imaging cameras and moisture meters to literally see inside your walls and floors. They map out the true extent of the damage, documenting everything with photos for the insurance claim, and then make that critical call. What can be saved, and what, unfortunately, just has to go.
All right, this is where we really separate the pros from, someone with a shop vac and a fan. Getting rid of the water you can see, that's the easy part. The real challenge and the real science is in getting the structure of the house itself completely, verifiably dry.
The term you need to know here is structural drying. This is the core concept. It's not just about making things feel dry. It's a scientific process that uses something called psychrometry, which is really just the physics of moist air to manipulate the environment. By controlling the temperature, humidity, and airflow in a very specific way, they can literally pull trapped moisture right out of the drywall, the wood studs, and even the concrete.
So let's just compare these side by side for a second. A DIY attempt might be opening some windows and pointing fans at the wet spot, which in a humid climate can actually make things worse. It's pure guesswork. The pros, on the other hand, use controlled airflow with specialized air movers and massive industrial dehumidifiers. And crucially, they take moisture readings every single day. They aren't guessing if it's dry, they are measuring it until the data proves it's dry.
So how do you know if someone actually understands all this science? Well, if you ever find yourself in this situation, and I really hope you don't, here's a huge takeaway. Look for this IICRC certification. This is the gold standard. It's what insurance carriers require because it means the technicians have been formally trained in everything from the science of drying to the specific protocols needed to protect your claim.
And a huge part of that training is understanding this chart, because not all water is the same. Category 1 is clean water, say from a broken supply line. But Category 2, that's gray water from a washing machine or dishwasher. It has detergents and other contaminants. And then there's Category 3, or black water. This is the really nasty stuff from a sewage backup or ground flooding, and it is a serious health hazard, loaded with pathogens. The category of water completely changes the entire approach to the cleanup.
So, how long does all this science actually take? Well, typically, you're looking at about 3 to 7 days. I know that can feel like forever when your house is filled with loud equipment, but it is absolutely critical. Rushing this process is the #1 reason people have problems down the road because any moisture left behind is just an open invitation for that mold to come right back.
Okay, the equipment is finally gone, the house is quiet again, and most importantly, it's dry. But the job isn't quite over. Now comes the final, crucial phase, navigating the insurance process and the final reconstruction.
The water's gone, but you're not done yet. The property is stable, sure, but it's not whole. So how do you get from a dry but torn up house back to the home you remember? The answer lies in meticulous, relentless documentation.
A professional restoration company has been preparing for this moment from the second they walked through your door. You can think of everything on this slide as the evidence for your insurance case. The detailed reports tell the adjuster exactly what got damaged and why. Those daily moisture logs prove that the drying process was necessary and done to industry standards. This isn't just a bunch of paperwork. It's the language that insurance companies speak. And it's the absolute key to getting a smooth, fair claim approved without a huge hassle.
And that really brings us to the ultimate goal here. This isn't just a cleanup job. It's a scientific and logistical process designed to do one single thing: to turn back the clock and return your home to the exact way it was before the disaster ever happened. It's really about restoring not just the structure of your house, but your sense of normalcy and safety.